wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. And now here's your host, Rich Barris.
Good afternoon, good Friday. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. You can find me on Twitter or at Twitter at Peoples_Pundit, on Truth and Getter at People's Pundit. Follow us on Rumble and YouTube. When you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. It's going to be a big weekend over here, folks. Big weekend over here. We're going to take a look at the questionnaire for the public polling project, which it was like almost 90% funded. So thank you for that. Of course, share it far and wide. You know the drill. We're going to look at the questionnaire for it. It will be focused on, all right, not a lot of other stuff. Who is going to vote? Who is enthusiastic to vote? All right, that's part of it, of course. Likely an enthusiasm. The voter screens. It will focus on why they're voting and who are they voting for. This is the Labor Day questionnaire. This is really, really important one because we need this one to see how it changes between this poll and the polls that we conduct before Election Day. This will be our baseline. I fully expect that there will just be some young people that come home that we haven't seen in the last 6 months or so. And that's because of what I see in districts and polls that we're conducting in congressional districts for clients and elsewhere. But again, I'm not going to bog this questionnaire down with a lot of stuff because we want it to be easy. We want it to be fast. We want it to be representative. Okay. So we're going to take a look at it. On locals, I ran a poll that basically asked, what do you want us to do when it comes to the 2024 hypothetical matchups here? Do you want us to do the litany of potential Democratic candidates again? Or do you want us to just do maybe a few with Liz Cheney being the named someone else or third party instead of a generic third party or someone else, which is what we've been doing, right? Overwhelmingly, and just so you don't think I'm full of crap, let me go and pull this poll up, okay? I'll just tell you right now, overwhelmingly, nobody cares about polling about Liz Cheney. Everyone pretty much knows now that I was right. We went over this on YouGov. For the entire time that we've been polling 2024 hypothetical matchups, it has always been the case, folks, always, that Democrats and potentially leaning Democratic voters were much more likely to pick someone else or a third party than Trump's voters were, or Republican voters in general. So I suspect it would be a bloodbath like YouGov found, even though you know how I feel about YouGov. It was an all-adult poll, yet they still, even the head-to-head, they had Trump down by 3, but adding the third party with Liz Cheney as that third party, Trump was up by 8. Getting very close to numbers that people like Emerson, myself, and Trafalgar have found nationally, which is that it's a bloodbath. So isn't it just more, I guess, well, you guys told me that you think it's just more beneficial in here. Let me pull it up so you guys can see it. It's just more beneficial for us to just continue to poll this way with someone else, the generic someone else, until we know who that other person is. This could end up as a quagmire in 2024. If Liz Cheney runs, she's not going to run as the Libertarian. She could run as a Democrat, but I don't think she can win because, again, a Democratic nomination for president is at least 40% non-white, and Liz Cheney has no appeal to non-white voters. She only has the appeal to the voters, people like Benny Johnson and I were talking about the day after her primary. That's it. The once upon a time, Bill Kristol Republicans, some of the crumpet-eating, wannabe elite women. That's about it. Everybody else is sticking to their their corners. They would vote for Biden over her. Non-white Democratic voters in a primary absolutely will vote for Joe Biden over her. I suspect they'd vote for Kamala Harris over her, Kamala Harris, whatever. I suspect they would even vote for somebody like I don't know about Pete Buttigieg. But maybe Elizabeth Warren, maybe. All right. But they're not going to vote for Liz Cheney. It's not going to happen. So let's say she runs as an independent. All right. And then the Libertarians put their own candidate on the ballot. Then the Greens in some states put their own candidate on the ballot. This could be like a Bill Clinton kind of situation where it's just a landslide. But it's in the 40s. Or not. Maybe people go back to their respective corners. But I think the Democratic candidate is by far the most likely to be hurt by that. All right. So when we ask simply, that's what I'm saying. I want to get your thoughts. And basically, this was only for the locals community, but they get to decide. So option one was Dems versus Trump, as we've been doing, including a third party, someone else option, listing all potential Dem candidates. We'll call this the potential Dem candidates versus Trump versus generic third choice. Or option two, which is Biden versus Trump. And maybe, like I said, maybe we could have done it with a few others as well, but I want the questionnaire to be smaller. I want to make sure that it's not, that survey fatigue is not an issue here and it's representative. Okay, Biden versus Trump, including a third party, someone else option, and a Trump versus Biden versus Cheney, the latter being someone else by name. And we'll call this the Biden versus Trump versus Cheney and generic third choice. Overwhelmingly, option one is winning. There's only 215 votes. Given that my locals community is a lot bigger than that, I would expect you guys to start, to vote on. But hey, I mean, it's been up for what now? Days, right? Or 2 days? 2 days? I'd have to look. But I ended the live chat because it's August 24th. Yeah, it's been up for 2 days. So only 30% said Biden versus Trump versus Cheney and generic third choice. Everyone else said, and honestly, I thought you guys were going to pick this one. My vote, I would not have counted, but I thought you guys were going to pick option two. I really did. But sometimes the people tell you what they're really thinking. And apparently just nobody cares about Liz Cheney or her impact whatsoever on the 2024 election. But I will tell you this, it will, if she runs, it will have an impact. All right. All right. So let's see. Pompeo Cheney 2024. Yeah, there's that talk. Yeah. And this is Freewheeling Friday, so I'm going to make it loose today. And, we'll just I'll look at your comments. We'll kind of go through them. But get your questions in for when we do it. We're going to have Don on later, of course. We got some guests next week. I'll tell you about them later. But it's going to be a real busy week because we're going to have guests. We're going to have polls to go over. All right. So this is going out. Let's call it, let's say maybe what, Saturday? Let's try to get this out on Saturday. We are almost 90% funded, 87.95%. 77 contributions this time, guys. This may be the biggest yet. As long as the contributor base continues to grow, then we have the most hope of keeping this thing going. All right? Because you can't expect the same people every month, to give. I completely understand, especially not in today's times. All right. So it's great to see that contributor base grow. All right. And just so you guys can see that as well, let's throw that up. And obviously you wouldn't have put your names up there if you didn't care if the public saw you. So don't have to worry about that. You can always give anonymously, by the way, just so people know. All right. You can give anonymously, but still leave your comments about what you would like to see us poll. All right. Because the squeaky wheel, as my old pappy used to say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the more I hear about something, the more I'm likely to put it in the questionnaire. It's just this questionnaire. Again, I'm stressing this for a reason. And you'll see it. You'll see I hacked sections out of the questionnaire. The Public Polling Project typically has, the normal trackers that we do, and then whatever is prescient for that month. An issue, maybe that's prescient for this, something about cancel culture or Ukraine or, foreign policy of Ukraine or whatever it may be. This time I took not a scalpel. I took a freaking axe and I started chopping sections out of it because I just want this one to be about the generic ballot and who is going to vote. It is so important to get the likely voter model right, starting right now, because we're going to see who maybe next month, we'll look back and we'll say, wow, did we miss this group because it was Labor Day? Is this group now, a month later, a month and a half later, whatever it may be, we get back in there? Is it more likely to vote than before? It's important. So we want to make sure we cast the last big net or bigger net, comparatively, than the smaller ones that we're going to start to cast as time goes on, before election. We're going to tighten that voter screen a little bit, but not too tight that we miss potential first-time midterm voters. And then we're going to see how it goes. All right? And by the way, just diluted reality 89. We polled Arizona a couple of weeks ago for CD Media. And that one's, you can go find that creativedestructionmedia.com or cdm.press. It's on their website. All right? And by the way, full methodology and everything. I don't understand why I get media inquiries asking me for methodology statements. Folks, leave your comments in the section here. Is it hard to find the methodology statement for the public polling project? A serious question. I'm not mocking anyone because it should be relatively easy. We released that PDF now. Remember, Locals remembers a couple of months back. I'm like, I think these should go out too. They're not that hard to find. Am I wrong? Detailed methodology statements. In fact, let's go over them. In fact, all right, so you could just see real quick. I just wanted to show you that. That's where we're at. We're really, really, really close to being funded. And I think that it's so crucial, so important that we go ahead and do that now, that we get a survey now, this baseline for Labor Day. I think it's so crucial. I'm just going to pull the trigger on it anyway. All right. And we'll talk about what to do from the, like here's March. Let's go over this in some detail real quick, just for people who may be new. And just for people who are looking for it. This I print out every month, right? And you can get it every month. This is for March, but it's because I was working on it. But about the poll, the monthly trackers, methodology, and monthly summary, who sponsored the poll, response maps. It obviously is different every time. You'll see why. Demographic samples, subgroup representations, the sample design, voter file query parameters, online panel design. Can we be real for a second? Does anybody else do this? I was really stoked about APOR's transparency initiative after 2016. And with the exception of a few, Spencer at Emerson, Spencer Kimball, he follows it. But with the exception of a few, I'm talking about big cable news outlets, major national newspapers, they don't follow it. They don't do this. All right, so the public polling project is at least 2,000 registered voters, and we're actually going to shoot for closer to 2,500. I'll be honest with you right now. I'm going to go just because we are constantly changing and adjusting as time goes on if we feel like we need to. All right. Just looking back at Georgia, Arizona, I'm going to reduce. Well, I'm not going to reduce. I'm going to expand the P2P, the SMS. So we're going to shoot for ballpark 2,500, and let's call that a 4-to-1 online to SMS ratio. Okay? We did, I think it was 6-to-1 in Arizona, and looking back at what we got, I really wish it was more like 4-to-1. Same is true of Georgia. So I think I think we're going to go with like close to 2,000 online, and then close to 500 SMS. I almost wonder if an SMS survey couldn't carry it all by itself. It can in districts. It can and does in congressional districts. So maybe over time, I'll start increasing the amount of SMS that is part of the public polling project. And see, and you can't, this is the thing, you can't just do it. You have to continuously keep the same proportion of the other responses to see whether or not it's that far out, like there's that much of a difference. Laura's always yells at me when I go into a dive and drown people. So let me just, you can't, if it's too different, then you can't change it that quickly. All right. So you kind of have to just do it as you go and be willing to spend the extra money to make sure you're right. All right. All right. Right track, wrong track. Presidential approval ratings, the registered voter economic confidence index, the congressional leader favorability ratings, generic ballot, presidential vote preference, most important issues, and of course, the big juicy social desirability bias indicators. All right. This was obviously 2050 registered voters. We're going to shoot a little higher this time. And it was nationally via ISP, Internet Survey Panel, or it can be OSP, all right? ISP, OSP, and peer-to-peer SMS to an online panel. And I'm going to tell you why we do that. From March 12th to March 14th, that's this one, right? I'm just wondering, like, why is it difficult to find this statement? All right, but in any event, results are weighted to represent the national voter file demographic to include gender, age, race, and region. It is important to note that the sampling errors for subgroups are higher. The likely voter model will influence weighting this time around. Well, not weighting. It will just influence who gets weighted. All right? Think of it like that, because people are like, do you weight for likelihood? Not really. They're just not there when we start the weights. You understand what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to weight by likelihood, because you basically should be removing everyone that is no longer in your model, and then you weight based on that. All right? Or at least that's the way we do it. I know there's a lot of differences, but this is the way we do it. All right, the Public Polling Project. This is the first ever successful periodic nationwide survey funded solely by contributions from the public. All right, but even in more detail, these are the this is the mainland regional participation of the survey, which you remember I lamented I thought was probably a little bit too democratic. All right, U.S. mainland and non-contiguous states, a little bit in Hawaii over there. You see that? One in Alaska, right? All right, but anyway, here's all the democratic samples of the survey. Like, I'm not understanding why. Here's sample design. This is actually the query we use in the voter file, for crying out loud. It states, if needed, projects, specific targets, and quotas for online panels will be detailed in the following section on survey design. In 2020, we experimented with what are called interlocking quotas, and we simply just found them to be unnecessary. Because if you were doing what we were doing and making sure that we were hitting each target and quota in these different areas, the region was so important, then it was unnecessary to interlock. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you know you're looking for a certain percentage of the Northeast, 17%, okay? But then it's more like 20. Your raw is more like 22 or 25. And when you look at it by gender, it's like 75, 25 female. Now I'm using a little bit of a ludicrous sample here, but feel where I'm going from. Your Northeast is going to look more democratic than it should. And then if you were to get, a decent amount in the Midwest, whatever, but your Midwest sample is like 65, 35 male, then your Midwest is going to be too Republican. These are things people really aren't paying attention about. They're not. Believe me when I tell you they are freaking not. And we try to avoid this the most we can. For us, the laws of randomization have been violated so badly. And it's not some of it's not even the industry's fault. It's just the way it is now. The minute I go into that voter file, ladies and gentlemen, I am messing with the laws of randomization, because now I'm not dealing with just random households and who is just as likely to be reached than the other household. We're changing the target population. So technically we are dealing with we're messing with randomization. What if you're getting landlines and versus cell phones? Now that's really called, even if you ask the voter file for a randomized poll, which we do, it's still more like a targeted random sample. It's not the same as a pure random sample. That is why you will never hear us use the term margin of error. Because it's not, first, anyone who includes online components like we do, and so many others now are doing, that's not a margin of error. That is different. That is a confidence interval and you're dealing with overall sampling errors, especially if it's mixed mode. That is an incorrect term. All right. So let's see. To ensure representation and balanced collection, quotas are used only for gender, age, and region. And if you make sure this one is good and this one is good, then this one will be good. Okay? All right. So with that in mind, that is it. I'm a little unclear why, I keep getting asked how these polls are conducted. It's good. All right. So, and Nathan, you know what? I'm glad. I really wanted to do that. He said, thanks for explaining the methodology here more. And that's PDF is available if you need it. I mean, I've always posted on locals and social media, but I will. This is why I was looking for something like, and I don't know if I just want to say it out loud, but there's this company called Crunch.io. All right. They don't pay me for saying this. I'll tell you when someone's paying me to say something. All right. Crunch.io is awesome. It is. It's the way you can show people the product, the finished product. What I like about it is that you would be able to include the crosstabs and the methodological statement, any statement you want to make, a report, anything, in one thing, and it's viewable online. Like, I don't like these scripted presentations where they're like half-ass crosstabs and then it looks like somebody wrote up their comments in a Word doc or something. I don't like that. All right. I just don't like it. I think that there should be online crosstabs that are in depth. That's why we use MarketSite. And Crunch can do that. I just don't know how they can help me bring it to you because, with MarketSite, I can email myself a source link and then I can give you guys that link and everyone can view that public link. It doesn't appear that could be the case with Crunch. And I'm trying to work on a solution for that because I really would like it. It's very cool. And IDOSA is $6,000 the price of every public polling project. It has been up until this time period. I've tried to make it, cost or below cost. But because of what is called, and this is a good time. This is good because it's Friday, and this is a good time to explain some stuff in more detail. Because of something called 10DLC, okay? It is a new regulation, not a government regulation. It's a private sector regulation for polls. It's not just pollsters, but obviously pollsters are impacted by it. Anybody who sends lots of text messages, it's the industry's attempt to stop spam and to stop, it's more than spam because what happens during spam? Fraud, right? Anybody who shouldn't really be doing it. You go through this identity verification process. Campaigns have to do it now too. So by the way, if you're a political candidate and your, let's call it your text messaging, digital outreach people, don't know what 10DLC is, then I have a news flash for you. At least half of your text messages are being blocked by the telecommunications companies. Right? So you go through this process, and it's not the fee to go through it. That's not the problem that's really raising costs. There is added costs for the vendors to send out all of these texts, and they're for a while, the one I work with, because 10DLC is relatively new, for almost a year, they did not pass that cost on. Right? And 10DLC only went into full effect about, I think, 6 months ago, but maybe less, a little bit less. But we were already doing it. We were already implementing it, right? But the bottom line is they tried for a long time to stave that cost off for their clients, and now they're passing it on to us. So the more I want to add SMS components to the public polling project, which in the beginning we weren't even thinking we were going to do, but then I'm like, I don't like this online all by itself. I don't like it all by itself. Online panels have gotten too zoomy. All right. During COVID, the online panels once upon a time used to be too damn conservative. And COVID led to just a lot of people, especially professional class people, sitting home and doing nothing or being able to Zoom their way in and work every day. So they were signing up for these panels like crazy, and they really disrupted how representative these panels were of the overall electorate. It was like they were just sitting around like, I hate Donald Trump, orange man bad. Click, 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 click. That's all they were doing. And now you have to beware of that. By the way, Morning Consult. I strongly suspect that's happened to their panel, YouGov, right? The Amerispeaks panel that's used by Ipsos and others. Everybody knows this happened. I don't know why they pretend like it's a secret, but it absolutely explains the Biden plus 12s in Wisconsin by the first pollster I mentioned. The Biden plus 10 to 12s in Michigan by damn near every pollster I just mentioned. They're not representative. And when it's also the way that these online surveys are conducted. If you don't balance, then you're going to get the people who are most interested and most likely to take the survey. You're going to get them first. So sample size once would be able to help you reduce a response bias by increasing the sample size, but it no longer can the way these surveys are fielded, because we call them duplicates, but it's not what I mean. I don't mean that we're getting the same person taking the same survey. What I'm saying is they might as well be the same person, because we didn't get a more representative sample. We just got a larger number of the same kind of people. And that is something that even these larger panel surveys have struggled since 2016 to deal with. It's not the guy or the girl that has a hard, difficult time, finding the time to fill out the survey or even want to be bothered. You're just getting more of those people. And we call them duplicates. They might as well be. All right. So, yeah, they're like, I don't want to use that, Amanda, but Amanda, kind of. You know what they're going to do. It's like, I don't need to speak. Let's use Pennsylvania as a reference because it's relevant to what I'm going to tell you next. I don't need to speak to another 8 people from Delaware County. I need to speak to more people in Lackawanna or Pike or Erie. Look at what happened in the New York Times in 2020. Nate Cohen must have found the only voter for Joe Biden in Greene County, Pennsylvania, because of his survey collection mode. And he could have surveyed that over and over and over. He still would have gotten the angry librarian or the pissed off school nurse or the county clerk or the lady who runs the DMV. You feel me? You feel me, Laura? Feel me? She knows what I'm talking about. And for those who've been fans for a long time, do you remember Wisconsin? I was like, it's not ready. It's not ready. Do you remember that, guys? And I was like, I know, give it a day or two. I need another day or two. That was me looking, and that's why I like to release those maps, by the way. That was me looking at the map and saying, I don't need anyone else from Milwaukee. I need to speak to the rest of the state. Go look at the Marquette University law poll. Last maybe 6 polls, they've only done it twice, I think. But go look and find their maps, and you will see when they release how many people they spoke to in different areas. No wonder why they thought that Joe Biden was going to carry that state by 6 to 8 points. You missed everybody. And because we violate the laws of randomization all the time, you have to take extra care to make sure that your sample is representative. All right? All right. It's 12:31. Give me a second. Let me do my spiel to pay the bills here. All right. And just real quick, before we come back, like I said, Laura's, she's on board. Grab your questions and throw them into you just ask your questions, throw them in the chat. Laura grabs them up and puts them into one spot for me. All right. Because it is Freewheeling Friday. We're going to spend a lot of the second hour doing that. All right. The next segment we're going to spend talking about some of the polls that have been out already. We'll go over the questionnaire real briefly on the Public Polling Project, but also too the CD Media Big Data poll that's coming out. All right. But before we do that, let's do it. All right, a food shortage could be coming, even in the U.S., experts wrote, as recently as July. All right. Drought, inflation, and even new policies are pushing America's food supply near its breaking point. That's why survival food is more important than ever. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriots food survival kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about good for 25 years super survival food. Hand-packed right in the family-owned facility in the USA. The kits are compact, sturdy, water-resistant, and stack easily. When I tell you they stack easily, they stack easily. Laura and I have a bunch of them, and they are hard and durable and perfect if you want to just put them in a closet or throw them somewhere where you need them, to be out of the way. It's perfect. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners. The stew is my favorite. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to get your 3-month survival kit for $6.97. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus 10 free gifts and free shipping. They're called 4 Patriots for a reason, because a portion of every sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to build your own stockpiles today. Where's mine? I'll show you in the next one. I had something else I wanted to show you from, but I'm in love with that company. All right. So with that in mind, where are we going here? Let's go check this out. Now let's go to, I did the methodology one already, right? Yes, I did. Come on, Alchemy. I want to show you how lean I did it. And then, I try to make sure that this thing is as small as possible. I'm going to ask for your opinion here. Here's the SMS version of the survey. Oh, I forgot to mention, there is one thing that is not in that methodology statement that I have to update, which Laura's kind of fighting me on. But the reason why we try to direct people to the link instead of using the peer-to-peer software, number one, it is a matter of cost, because if you have to ask them back and forth on text messages, you have to pay for every outgoing message. All right. If you just ask them to click on the link, then you do not, of course. So it is a matter of cost, but it's more than that. We ask people to do it so they can save and continue and come back later. Each respondent from the Public Polling Project is given, looks like there's a scheduled maintenance, no downtime expected. Excellent. Each respondent from the Public Polling Project, and I'll tell you, we do this on everything, gets 24 hours to finish their survey. They are allowed to hit save and continue and come back. Why? Because maybe they did a few questions on their work break. And then when they got home, they stopped, they did whatever they had to do, they took a shower, whatever. Then they sit down and they do it again. Maybe they got a few minutes to finish it. I don't care where they do it, in the bathroom, right? In Arizona, we showed you what we knew were Border Patrol agents who started their survey at home and then finished it by over the border. Right, Laura? We were showing you that for a reason, because it matters. If you give working people time to do it, you'll find that their participation will increase. That's number one. Number two, it's funny. And it also shows you that Chief Justice Roberts was right. It is scary how close I can pin you when you're doing it. Look, I'm not going to make you feel good about it. Tech is creepy. All right. So let's get into this. Registered voter screen, of course. Got to make sure, even though we know they're registered voters, especially since SMS. You never know. I mean, it could be somebody got a different number. I mean, the guy, I don't know if you guys know this or not. And I hate to break this to everybody, but the voter file isn't perfect. All right. It's a little dirty. So first we have to make sure that we get a registered voter. If not, they're disqualified and out of there. We're going to start tightening up the screen here. I will keep the 0 to 50 for right now. We will keep that for right now because that is what I'm doing. I am going to try from this survey to the next one before the election. I am going to try to pinpoint who in the 0 to 50 is unlikely, is really more like 30 to 50. And that will matter If they're certain to vote and they have a vote history, they're voting. It's the number on that is ridiculous. They're voting. Likely to vote, meaning the odds are greater than 50-50. That of course they'll be in there, but we will see. I guess that's like someone else is somewhat likely to vote. We don't view that as somewhat. We view that as you're likely, especially if that's coupled with a vote history. All right, but this category right here is where a lot of people have been screwing up and screening out people that may not have strong vote histories, but are going to vote. And we need to keep an eye on this group so we don't tighten the screen too much and screen people out who are going to vote and then be like, oh my God, what the hell happened? All right. Vote history right here, which by the way, we know a lot of. All right. It's always nice to compare them. And I like to ask them. I do. But we do know their vote history. We don't know who they voted for, but we know whether or not they voted, and we know whether or not they voted in person or through absentee ballot. All right. Thinking back to the 2020 election, for whom did you vote? We will be asking that. That's always interesting, just to see where people are. For instance, the Emerson poll in Pennsylvania obviously has a ton of mind changers. Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden by 5 when Emerson thought that Trump was going to lose Pennsylvania by what, 6? Does anybody remember what their final was? Maybe they got, herded in the end to a close race, but I remember their polls that had Trump down pretty considerably. All right, and obviously that was never true because we polled it and it was always very close. The most we ever had Trump down in Pennsylvania was by 2 points, right? 2? Maybe 3 or 4. No, I think it's 2. I'd have to go back and look, but it was always a close race. All right. Direction of country. We need that. The registered voter economic confidence index. You might have noticed I have moved. This has been months of debate. Where does this go? Where should this go? And I decided that economics should go before anything related to approval ratings or favorability ratings for political people. I just want them to tell me there has been a huge partisan influence on economic indexes, not just ours, but others. I have moved it, and I've moved it right after Right Track, Wrong Track. After a couple of months of debate, I feel that is the appropriate place for it. All right. So moving on. Biden's approval rating, of course, economy and jobs, immigration, border security, foreign policy, crime. I strongly am debating removing his approval rating for COVID. I just feel like it's not first of all, it's not whether I feel it or not. It's not a pandemic anymore. It's endemic. And I'm not sure I want to participate in this story that they are telling everyone. Maybe I'll remove the word pandemic. We'll just do COVID response, coronavirus response, whatever it may be. Or just coronavirus, I don't know. I'm curious. Give me your thoughts on that, guys. Locals, give me your thoughts on that. Everyone can give me your thoughts on it. YouTube, Rumble, Locals, we want them all. Get her. Tell me your thoughts. I think it should go. I really do. It's a non-issue. Everywhere we've polled, COVID is in the low single digits as far as the top voting issue. I also want to do, speaking of top voting issues, which we'll get to in a little bit, I want to do rank distribution. I just have no way to show it to you in an illustrated way. I can give you, more statistics, and you won't really understand. Most people won't. It's not, look, it doesn't really look like it makes sense. Give you maybe a KPI score or something like that. But rank distribution really is the best way to show it. And what do I mean by that? Now that you told us your top issue, now that you told us one, I maybe gave you 12 options plus other Now, here's the next 12 again, now that you had to pick your one and only top issue. Here they are again. Rank them in order of most to least important. And that is illuminating. There have been we've talked a lot about the rise of abortion as a voting issue. But when you did, it's not anymore, but it did rise temporarily in some of the districts we were polling. And I'm curious to see what it'll be nationally in our polling. But when asked to rank them, abortion would fall from the top 3 to like 8, 9. It would bottom out. Because what we're essentially asking people is, what are the first, in their minds, they're going to rank them 1 through 12 or whatever it may be. But in their minds, those top 3 really matter. And it just falls right out of the top 3. Falls close to bottom 10. All right. Congressional leaders' favorability ratings. And again, don't forget before we move on, what do you think about this COVID debate? Should we remove this or what? I have a trend line for it. That's the only thing that's like making me inclined to keep it, is that we have a trend line. I don't know. Curious to hear your thoughts. Congressional leaders' favorability ratings. Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Kevin McCarthy. Next, we'd like to get your overall opinion of some people. Please indicate if you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of them, or if you have never heard of them, or have no opinion. All right? The generic ballot. I don't know why this doesn't randomize or say that it randomizes when I print it. You can clearly see in option sorting here, it is set to randomize except when you have someone else in undecided. I can show you its specific setting. I have it on fixed. All right. Same thing when undecided. It is fixed. So with piping and randomization, it does not move. The only 2 that move are fixed no, is Republican and Democratic choices. Fixed no. All right. So Republican and Democrat are fixed here. Are not fixed here. These 2 are. So when this question is presented to people who are taking the survey, these randomize. One person will get Democrat first. The other person will get Republican first. That is why we do not use that in the wording of our survey. All right. Which I was just talking about the other day with someone. After in 2018, when Rasmussen was the one pollster that had Republican +1, Republicans did exceptionally well in the U.S. Senate, but obviously lost the House and lost slightly above average number for a first-term incumbent midterm. All right. This is how we asked the question. If the elections for the U.S. House of Representatives were held today, for which party candidate would you vote in your congressional district? We used to ask it slightly different. If the elections for the U.S. House were held today, would you vote for the Republican candidate or the Democratic candidate? And we would swap that out because you can do that if you have live caller. Obviously, you tell them to randomize. If you have IVR, that's easily randomized. Instead, when, a la big tech, you got to love it, right? Or at least this part of it. You don't have to do that. You can ask the question this way and then randomize them, obviously, automatically. All right. So that's why you'll see some pollsters are look at the mode they are using to collect. Okay. They are putting the candidates in the question. Then that's why they have, maybe have to do that. You can't, have to randomize it that way. All right. It's a little bit different. But I just don't like how when I'm showing you this, you can't see that it is in fact randomized. We were like, wow, the Republican candidate's first. No wonder why you're a Republican generic ballot. No, they're not. They are randomized. Didn't matter who I put first. Same thing here. And the only reason why we include them, like Trump's first here, Trump's first here, Trump's first here, Trump's first here, is because when we calculate leaners, they have to be in the same position. They are randomized here. But then this value is connected to this one here that has logic with it. You see, it says this question has display logic. If the respondent saw Joe Biden first, when they went to answer the initial question, then they have to see Joe Biden first again in the lean. That's the one thing rule we have when it comes to leans. If they saw Trump first, then Trump must be this value that they see here. It wouldn't make any sense to show them Donald Trump first and then leans Trump being the second or third option. And by the way, we do the same thing with the presidency or anything, whether it's the Senate or the gubernatorial elections or congressional elections. When we're dealing with these candidates, these two positions are randomized. These two are fixed. All right. So we have Trump, Biden. We have Trump, Harris. We have Trump, Buttigieg. We have Trump, Clinton. We have Trump, Sanders. We have Trump, Warren. And we're going to add Trump, Newsom, Gavin Newsom. Somebody's got to go here, though, because the questionnaire is still longer than I want it to be. So give me your thoughts. Obviously, it can't be Biden, even though we generally think he probably will not make it to 2024, or he will not run again in 2024. All right. I have it as, that he has to stay. So tell me who you would like to see go if you want me to add a Newsom or something like that. But for this, we can do it. We can go back to doing it again, with a slew of candidates again later. But for right now, I want to keep this survey within a certain duration, and I want it easy to take. All right. You also have to remember that we do a lot of demographics that you don't see, which we find extremely helpful. You don't see them with other pollsters. Okay. For instance, why did I do that? Well, I'll actually show it to you. All right. That's what I was trying to do. All right. For instance, here's top voting issue. All right. And by the way, we will give another logic question. If they pick the cost of living inflation, for instance, they will be funneled off into what mirrors the CPI. You guys know that, right? So specifically regarding cost of living, which would you say concerns you? Or basically, why did you tell me cost of living and inflation were your number one? What are you worried about the most? Food, groceries, housing, shelter, gas and fuel, utilities, electric, taxes, taxation, medical and healthcare, transportation, vehicles. That was why if we didn't do this, then when Biden went to the microphone and said, automobiles are doing this. Remember that? Before Putin inflation, it was used car salesmen. They were the problem. You remember that? All right. Meanwhile, I showed you it was 0.2 of a percentage point actually picked that over the course of time that he was talking about. All right. It was very clearly food and groceries, and then gas obviously was always top contender, but then we saw it overtake food and groceries. All right. So we have, these are randomized except for other. All right. So they actually have to go fish out whichever one they want. But other is not, it is fixed. And if they tell us something else and we see something interesting, we'll put it in a word cloud for you. But for the most part, last time we were just kind of able to group some of them into anti-government sentiment, anti-corruption, something like that. That was one of them because several people did write something like that. All right. So economy, jobs, cost of living, inflation, public education, critical race theory stuff, COVID, vaccine mandates, immigration and border security, crime, policing, safety, election integrity, and or reforms, healthcare. And why do we do that, by the way? Because people on the left will not pick election integrity, even though they may pick election reforms if you give them that option. So we give people both, just especially gun rights, Second Amendment, right? The environment, climate change. You're trying to get both sides of the spectrum there. Foreign policy, national security. How do these people see things a little bit differently? All right. Public education, critical race theory. That's a perfect example. All right. And let's move on. What I was going to say was, don't forget that a lot of people don't ask these things that we ask, that we think are critical. Some pollsters will say, all of those demographics are just, burdensome. Well, they're necessary. We find them necessary. Here's our social desirability bias indicators. How comfortable or uncomfortable are you telling each group of people about your political beliefs, such as how you intend to vote, family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, strangers, pollsters? All right, so we're keeping that. Party affiliation, ideology. We've been thinking about adding some way maybe if it's even something in the simplest form, do you consider yourself a populist? Something like that. There should be like a populism index or something. What do you think? My wheels have been turning about this for a while now. I almost feel like the old way of describing your ideology, which we have to do like this because we have to mimic the exit polls for predicting election compositions to see whether or not we were right about, how much of it was, how much of the electorate was liberal, how moderate was it, how conservative was it. I feel like we have to keep this, but there should be something else, like for party affiliation leanings, where we're trying to discern if you're an independent or you're something else or you're non-two-party, which would you say most aligns to your values, right? Or and that would tell us why independents are leaning the way they're leaning, or which way they will lean, actually. And if you think of yourself as an independent or something else, are your views aligned more closely to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, equally close to the Republican Party and Democratic Party, or share little in common with either? Something like this, I think, for populism. We need something like this. All right, demographics. These are basics. You got your basics, right? We have expanded since it's a national survey. We will expand. It's not simply white, black, Hispanic, Asian, other, that we will group those together for the crosstabs, but we will always have the expanded, or what detail the crosstab mentions as race detail. All right. Your age, we get specifically, and we see whether it matches, obviously. And then national origin, if you are white. A lot of people say, well, this is part of the problem. You put all these demographics. This is where all the goodies are. This is where all the real goodies are. This is how we knew maybe we missed a bunch of people in Pennsylvania. Why does this poll look so pro-Biden? Maybe it's because 67% are calling themselves American English when we know Pennsylvania is rather German. The largest voting bloc in Pennsylvania is German ethnicity. Wink, wink. Feel me? All right. Hispanic origin, Hispanic Latino. This will always tell you maybe we were a little bit too Puerto Rican this month, right? Not enough Cubanos. This is where all the goodies are. Really is. National origin for Asian, same thing. Why maybe are Republicans really narrower, or is it because there are too many Japanese, not enough Chinese? Right? I mean, to me, folks, this is the future. This old way of doing things just is not working anymore. And you need the more red flags a pollster can give himself or herself to see, whether or not they're doing something wrong, the better. Employment demographics, obviously, self-employment's in there. Household income, right? Your union house, yes or no? Is that a public or private sector union? Education detail. That will be called education detail on the crosstab. Education will just be high school or less, some colleges associate, or 4-year degree or more. Something like that. This will be the detailed. It'll say education detail. Marital status, parental status, military status, veteran status, none. Religion detail, and then obviously, well, not detail. If they say they're a Christian, if they say Protestant, other Christian, we ask them whether or not they consider themselves an evangelical, all right? Which is what that says here, simple. When you can actually look at the logic rules. Show if, question 44, which is that one. What is your religious affiliation? Are you Catholic, Protestant, blah, blah, blah. Regional demographics. Do you live in an urban, suburban, or rural area? It's amazing how many people think they live in one or the other and don't. In which region do you live? The North, East, the Midwest, Southwest. All right. All right. So that, wow, it's an hour already. My God. So there you have it. And while it says, let me just run a quick test real quick and see what we're looking at here. Probably going to be 6 minutes, 8 minutes. Whoa! See? Too much. It's 9 minutes, even though fatigue is less. Accessibility is very good. It's still 9 minutes in estimated length. That's what I'm talking about. Too long. Got to figure something out. If that means axing everyone else but Gavin Newsom, I'll do it. How many Hillary versus Trumps do we need? How many Sanders versus... He's killing them. It's not worth polling. You want my honest opinion? It's not worth polling. Biden is, as far as we have tested to this day, Biden remains the strongest Democratic candidate to run against Donald Trump. I know. We have not found a race yet. So let's try Newsom. In fact, I think it's worth just kind of swapping out somebody month after month. We keep Biden versus Trump, and then we add a Newsom versus Trump, and then the next month a Michelle Obama versus Trump. And I don't know, maybe we should do a Michelle Obama instead of Gavin Newsom, but it looks like everyone's interest is in Gavin Newsom right now. So I think I'm going to get my axe again and start chopping away in the 2024s. I really do. It is so critically important at this point that we have a good representative sample. You need it for this one. Absolutely need it. All right. Wow, we got some good questions. A lot of questions about the FBI and stuff. I haven't looked at the affidavit here, folks. So, I mean, I don't know how much I can answer about that. But there's so much to talk about polling-wise. I don't know how much I can do that anyway. Gavin who was arrested? Who the hell has been arrested? David, are you watching the show right now? Has your governor been arrested while I'm on the damn show? Don't tell me that. No way. Yeah, there's nothing to see. The affidavit's going to be blacked out. I told you guys this would be blacked out. I told you. It's not, there's going to be nothing there, folks. Oh, Gavin McGinnis was arrested. Oh, I thought you meant, because I'm talking about Gavin Newsom. All right. Yeah, I'm making that executive decision right now. I'm getting my axe, hacking it out. It's going to be Gavin Newsom. We'll do Biden versus Trump. We'll do Newsom versus Trump. Wow. What did they arrest Gavin McGinnis for? During his show, they arrested him? The hell did they arrest him for? This is getting out of control. This is getting really, really out of control at this point. All right, let's see. What is going on here? Yeah, I mean, people told me it's totally redacted. What did the Libertarian Party do? What did they do? What's going on here? Happy holidays. Oh my God, before I take a break. Oh my Lord. Look at what they've done. Oh my God. I don't know what to laugh or not. Listen, we all know I'm no fan of Meghan McCain. And the only reason why I'm not, it's not even my personal opinion. I speak to people for a living. I don't like privileged little snots dismissing the concerns of millions of Americans who were not fortunate enough to be raised like a princess in a gilded class. Because she feels like someone insulted her daddy. The country has to suffer. Anyway, this is a little bit, I don't know. You know what? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Too much? You think they went too far? Justin Amash does. This is a horrible, disgusting tweet. Those are your boys, Justin. Those are your homies. I already know the response will be that McCain advocated wars and military actions that are horrible and disgusting. That doesn't justify being cruel to his family and loved ones. If you want to bring people to libertarianism, show humanity. Well, that's the problem with libertarianism, Justin. The general electorate doesn't feel like you're humane at all. You would do away with all social programs and open the door for third world immigration to completely, as if 5 million wasn't enough in the Biden era. Is that humane? That's the problem. Look, it's not even my thoughts. I'm telling you what the American public thinks. Libertarianism is not humane. That's why it's not electorally viable. All right. We will be back in 2 minutes and 40 seconds with more of your questions. You're watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. Stay tuned.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats its restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to stray overnight, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
And there goes Roro, flipping out again. And there was rolling at the bottom of the screen there. Sometimes I forget. Listen, local supporters, don't forget the book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myths of Empire, Jack Snyder. We're on right now. Couldn't have picked a better book for the war in Ukraine. I'll tell you that right now. Updates on the war in Ukraine. You see that on Twitter when I showed you that screenshot? Updates on the war on Ukraine. What update? Putin won. Let me update it for you. Putin beat us in a proxy war. It took him 5 months. Despite all of the lying from the mainstream media. All right, Laura's yelling at me. Stop trying to do my job. That was from before. She put something on the screen. And I hit the button and clicked it. Stay tuned. I just don't want people to think the show's over, Laura. That's why we need like an hour-long commercial split or something. I just don't want to kill people with commercials, especially if I do reads. All right. Uh-oh.
Yes, but I was hitting the button, and then when you hit it, you undid it. So I said, stop doing my job.
Okay. Got it, boss. All right. Polling the state of Pennsylvania this weekend, starting this weekend for CD Media big data poll coming your way too. So we're going to check it out. We're going to do a very simple, like I just kind of went over there. It'll be even smaller than the public polling project. I mean, simple. We're just going to do top who's voting, why they're voting, all that. what they're voting on, who they're voting for, and then Pennsylvania demographics, as you remember from the Public Polling Project in 2020. Very interesting as always. All right. So we have, obviously, we'll give very detailed by region, by area, by ancestry. And then also, like I said, we're going to take a look and see how much is abortion really, the top issue here. We're going to find out. There was an Emerson poll released. We'll see how Emerson's doing with general elections in November. We won't know how accurate they are. The primaries, they've had some issues. They have clearly underestimated some MAGA people in the last couple of elections. Then again, though, they overestimated David Perdue, if I remember correctly, in Georgia. I don't know if he fell, but at one point, David Perdue was rising in the Emerson poll pretty much. We never had him above, 25%, 26%. But in these like real big MAGA versus establishment fights, Cleavage +2, right? Romson, they thought Romson was going to win the governor's race, or their poll showed. Not whether they thought or not. Their poll showed. Now they have Oz trailing by 4, Fetterman up by 4, excuse me. They have Mastriano trailing by 3, which means Shapiro's up by 3. And they had Donald Trump beating Joe Biden by 5. I will tell you this. We do see this everywhere. We do. We see this everywhere, which is that Donald Trump is considered consistently ahead of Republican senatorial and congressional candidates, whether it's statewide polling a Senate race or it is in a congressional district. Donald Trump is got a bigger coalition. In Georgia, for crying out loud. I mean, it was a close race with Walker and Warnock in the CD Media Big Data poll, even the locals poll. Remember, we did a locals one. It was a close race, consider not outside of the reach of any of the one candidates yet. In the presidential election, it was a landslide for Donald Trump. He was absolutely destroying Joe Biden. And I think we had like 10 or 11. Now that's like the RCP average. So for a while, people were like, that sounds like a ridiculous lead. It did sound like a ridiculous lead to me too. But that's what it was. So I'm not at all surprised to see that Trump is outperforming. Drew Spider. Can you list Gavin Newsom as American Psycho on the survey? No, we can't do that, Drew. No. It will have to say Gavin Newsom, Democrat, or whatever, however it lists. But yeah. Who wins? Okay, let's get to some of these questions, all right? Who wins Kenosha County in Wisconsin, Evers or Michaels? Michaels. This cycle? Michaels. Does Evers hold the driftless area like he did in 2018 with Scott Walker? That will, honestly, how much of that is the question here? All right. I would expect Michaels to win Kenosha and Racine, especially considering how well he did against Rebecca Clayfish in that area. All right. But ironically, that's really not the swingiest area of Wisconsin. How well a Republican candidate does in like Douglas and Ashland and Bay really matters, because then it drifts down into areas like Polk, and Rusk, all the way down straight to Polk and to Rusk. They're very similar, but the northern, especially northwestern part of Wisconsin, is like the birth of labor. There still remains Democratic strongholds in those, especially 2 of those counties, and the margin that Donald Trump was able to close those, close those counties. That was why Trump was able to carry the state, because he didn't get creamed in northwestern Wisconsin at all. And then, of course, you would carry Kenosha and Racine and some of these other areas. Republicans are going to get crushed in Dane County. They're going to get crushed in Milwaukee. That's going to happen. How well does Michaels do outside of Green Bay? That's a question that will matter. All right, so that's a good question, but I think Kenosha is going to Michaels. I do. In this cycle, I do. And especially because even when Republicans in 2018 did poorly there, generally speaking, outside of Walker, Trump came in 2020 and did not do poorly there at all. So, that's a great question. We will, after talking with CD about polling Pennsylvania, because that really is the big cheese right now, they have been getting a lot of requests because one of the outlets that they own is in Georgia. So they also were talking about, eventually coming back and doing Pennsylvania again, because all polls that we've conducted with them and for locals and on our own, we did before Walker's stumbles. And Walker was leading by about 2 to 6 points during that time period. I'm curious to see whether or not he's down this time, but we'll see. And PA, Arizona, and Georgia, I've been wrapping a lot of these questions up into one. Let's see. I don't know. Without polling Connecticut, I can't really say for sure, like a district like Connecticut 5. I'm telling you, in elections like this, there are always districts that everybody ignored that wind up going. I mean, you just don't see them coming. Nobody ever sees them coming, and it happens. There's always one of them. That, honestly, is one of those areas, and locals, you know this. I mean, we've done the voter analysis models in Connecticut about areas like this. But Bob Stefanowski is not running a good race. Republicans are not making a play for Connecticut like I've argued in the past they should. I wish I could give you a more concrete answer there, but I'm less bullish on any gains in Connecticut because of how badly the governor's race is going there for them. Any opportunities in Illinois? The Bailey, it was always going to be a tough race, but I think that race is probably closer than people think. Some of the polls that have Pritzker winning by a larger margin than Fabrizio and Lee have it are simply modeling differences. They're roughly all in agreement that Bailey's carrying independents by a fairly large margin. But when you reduce how many independents you think are going to vote, then that moves from a 7-point lead like Fabrizio had it to a 9 or 11-point lead. So it's a tough race, but we'll see. Some of these are basically duplicates, Laura. But looking to move to North Carolina from San Francisco Bay Area. Have to get out here. Have some great prospects in the Charlotte area and looking at Union County. Thoughts? Nigel, it depends where your job is going to be. North Carolina is a beautiful state. Union, I can't speak too much for, but, I guess I simply just don't know it that well, personally. I mean, I know it's politics, but contact me on on the side, and because you're on YouTube, okay. Yeah, I mean I could certainly get you even detailed demographics about the area if you want. You should contact us. All right, go to either Laura's producer thing if you're on. Are you on Locals? If not, then you can't send a support message. But you can contact it. Go through Big Data Poll. Contact at Big Data Poll. All right, and I will shoot you detailed demographics on Union County. Cool. But I love. The state it's a beautiful state. It really is. Snowman polling. Trust independence of FBI, DOJ. Will feelings affect your voting? This is a polling question you're asking, right? We did just do trust in this agency, and it was a great deal of trust in the FBI was just under 19%. I didn't look to see what it was with independents, though. Actually, yeah, I did. I did it by I mean, I recently went over and looked at this, and I want to say, here, I'll look at it. I'll find it right now. I want to say that it was like 15%, 13. It was horrible. Horrible. Now, some had a pretty good amount, but some is not an overwhelming, and I'm trying to remember which project it was. To say you have some trust in an agency is not exactly overwhelming. It's not. Let's see. Maybe it was it Winter Guys? When did we do that? I'll know as soon as I click on the crosstabs. Let's see. No, that was on food shortages and inflation. Bear with me. I'll get this for you. Just bear with me. This was the May one. I'm not sure. We did Roe v. Wade in May. I'm not sure. We also did trusted institutions. No, we did. That was biggest threat. Remember? Okay. Biggest threat and the UFOs. Let's try March. Has to be March. Holy moly. My employee created 1 million freaking crosstabs in this. Oh my God. Holy moly, dude. Where's my original crosstab? Oh God. What has he done? They're all gone. No, they're there. There it is. All right. 14%. Trust in the FBI, a great deal, was 14% among independents. That's a good question, though. That's why we have, once a year we ask the trust in institutions kind of question. Will the rurals turn out for Oz? The special elections have made me skeptical of that. Wilson, they should. I'm going to find out. We're going to poll this weekend and we'll check it out. But that was the main takeaway for me in New York 19. In Minnesota 1, I do not share the conclusions that you see a lot of other people sharing with these specials. And I certainly don't when it comes to the amendment on abortion in Nebraska. The fact of the matter is, yes, no was worded really weird. It was easily to trick people and obfuscate what it meant. Everybody knows that no did that. So Minnesota 1, I disagree because I don't just compare vote shares from the presidency to to that current congressional election. I also look at how the district is voted by party, for each congressional candidate. In Minnesota 1, they did underperform Trump by about 6 points. Trump carried it by 10. They won it by 4. But they outperformed themselves from the last election when Trump won it by 10. So it was a shift to the right. Period. Even New York 19. Delgado won that district by 12 points. 12 points. He won Dutchess. Biden won Dutchess. It was Molinaro's backyard. He absolutely, that was a very big shift to the right. And I don't think there's anyone seriously out there who would argue that in a regular election, Molinaro would not have won that election. Of course he would have. The educated burbs and more metro areas voted as much as they could have voted for Pat Ryan. That's not who was missing in the electorate. Molinaro's voters were missing. That district brought, without a real race in it last time, that still drew 350 plus thousand votes. Right now, it's about 130,000. Another 40,000. And Molinaro would have won that race by the margin that people thought he was going to win it. Even Ryan's own team had him down. Data for Progress, a liberal outlet, had him down by 8. Pat Ryan's team had him down by 3. It was a turnout issue. It really wasn't about vote preference. That being said, that really doesn't matter unless you get those people to the polls, right? And we see Trump outperforming Republicans everywhere. And we see a difference in turnout when Trump's not around. That's the takeaway. Spoke to Miranda Devine at the New York Post about this the other day. She actually wrote it up, a bunch of statements that I had made. It's like they're a bunch of petulant little children, they being the Republican Party. They're a bunch of petulant little children who want to rebel against daddy, yet every time they go to leave the nest, they have to come running back. They cannot survive without daddy. You think you're ready to move on from Donald Trump, DeSantis, folks? Take a look at those results. And let's be honest anyway, because most of them aren't DeSantis folks. Most of them are neocons who are trying to use DeSantis. And if you think I'm lying, go look at who's funding who. DeSantis is big sugar and big everything. Donald Trump's donations come from low dollar contributions. So you may be an earnest DeSantis supporter who like Donald Trump and you're like, oh, it's not me. That's why we have a little thing in statistics called margins. It's not that every single one is, and I'm saying, I'm like casting aspersions at you and you're not being honest. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're being used by the other 75% of that margin. And I was, frankly, really unhappy with what I saw in South Florida the other day. Donald Trump was this close to carrying Miami-Dade. This close. Now it looks like to me Maria Salazar won that damn election because Donald Trump was on the ballot. She better win independence. That's all I got to say. You better win independence, Maria. As it turns out, a Hispanic journalist doesn't bring the votes to the yard like the old white guy from Queens. Am I right or am I right?
You're right. You're right.
Yet you ask these idiots at the NRCC and they'll tell you that she's like, definitely she's going to bring all these Hispanics. She's Hispanic. She's Hispanic. So everyone's Hispanic down there. What's your point? Donald Trump is how old is Donald Trump now? 77 years old?
Yeah, he's in.
He's 77 years old. He's from Queens and he's rich. And yet he has done the best job with Florida Hispanics than any other Republican nominee in recent memory. He came as close. He will have to drag him over the finish line, Jay. By the way, I told him this. I did. It's a shame because it's like he should be able to go home and just be like enjoy himself. But he's got all these political persecutions. He's got to win to survive. Mm-hmm. And they can't win without him. But what else do you expect from leadership the way they have in the Republican Party right now, folks? They don't inspire. They lay down. It's human nature. It's not about politics for a second. Just think about this for a minute. Think about what I'm saying to you. Human nature, folks, at its core. Nobody wants to follow a loser. Nobody wants to follow somebody who quits. Nobody wants to follow people who don't inspire confidence. Do either Kevin McCarthy or Mitch McConnell make statements that inspire confidence? I mean, Trump had to go to truth and beat McConnell over the head. This guy is a hack. He's right. This is the third cycle. Pulls the fire alarm. Like I keep saying, I'm using this analogy. And he doesn't escort. He pulled the fire alarm when there was not even a fire. But then he didn't even stick around to help escort the kids out of the school building. No, he ran around with his hands like this, Rah! Save yourselves! He's a pathetic excuse for a man, let alone a leader. This is the third damn straight cycle they've done this. McConnell's just more vocal about it. But McCarthy has abandoned ship. Unbelievable.
I believe it. It's just sad.
Unbelievable. Uh-oh. What happened here? Hold on. I have to look at something. Let me do the read anyway real quick, but what the hell happened here? All right. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Food shortages in Biden's America are a very real thing. All right. But, quote, food shortage could be coming even in the U.S. And you know that from the Public Polling Project. But experts wrote as recently as July. Drought, inflation, and even new policies are pushing America's food supply near its breaking point. Hey, can I have my bag over there? In there?
Yeah.
That's why survival food is more important than ever. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling for Patriots survival food kits. It is not ordinary food. We're talking about 25 years, good for 25 years, super survival food. Hand-packed right in a family-owned facility in the USA. One bag's good. One bag's good. The kits are compact, sturdy, water-resistant, and stack easily. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. Link is in the description. Go to 4patriots.com/TPP to get your 3-month survival kit for only $6.97. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after ordering. Plus, 10 free gifts like this one, which is super cool. All right. And free shipping. They're called 4 Patriots for a reason, because a portion of every single sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. Go to 4patriots.com to build your own stockpile today. And listen, when I tell you, we use it, we use it. The kids love it. There's coffee for the parents, coffee for the parents. Listen, telling you right now, that's bank right there. Coffee. All right? Coffee, tea. There's hot cocoa. Right. Hot cocoa. We got it for the kids, because there's some things like, kids, man, in a bad situation, kids, they need some kind of like moral victory. Yeah, like a boost, pick me up. That cocoa is going to do it for us, boy. Right? Pudding. Look, everyone's got a favorite. Mine is the at-home stew. It's called or something. The broccoli Alfredo bake. Right? Stop! I'm getting hungry. All right. It's good. Really good. And we've tried a lot of others. MREs, folks, they don't stay as long as this food stays. And they don't taste as good. And I like MREs. I was in the Army. I never had a problem with MREs. And then I'm telling you, the free gifts you'll get are all useful, legitimate gifts. All right. And some of it's reading material. And I'll tell you what, you'll learn a lot. Mm-hmm. You'll learn a lot. Laura was stoked to get seeds. That was like her
seeds.
Yeah.
Those are seeds that are made to really grow well in harsh environments.
Bad conditions. Yes. And for those of you who know, Laura and I we're after next week, when there's some work done, then we're going to be able to be free to just go nuts with the garden beds. All right. I even maybe reconstruct the one we got and just build a bigger wall. One wall, and we use dividers in between, and then make an L, wrap around. Then we can stack if we want to stack,
Well, because I also have to keep the medicinal plants away from the actual herbs, and because it gets sketchy if you get close.
Yeah, it's true. I'll tell you what. We're a big family, and I feel like one of these kits alone is solid. That's not, of course, all we got, but that's what I mean. You can put them in a closet, just stack them right up. Some of these things come in like containers and bins. I really like this way because they're kind of like low, but like, flat and they're really durable. Also, something people don't talk about as much when it comes to this stuff, the containers do matter because light pollution can affect it. All right. And we get these like 72 hours to like basically go for drills with the kids. Like what it was called the Freedom Stove. It's called, it's like a little, that we got them from 4 Patriots, the Freedom Stove. But yeah, go check it out. Go to the link and check it out. Read all about it. They also have a pretty cool video on it. But there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of stuff outside of that. Like I said, I'm going to back up my damn gas generator with their solar panels.
Those solar panels.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's cool, man. especially because when we are in a hurricane area too. So when something like that happens, there's maybe the natural gas. It's only so much of it. You never know. All right. But I'm not going to be caught my damn pants down. I'll tell you that right now.
Amen.
All right. Let's see. I got quite far already, didn't I? Yeah. North Carolina, the Senate seat. Ted Budd's going to win that Senate seat. Can I just stop this crap right now? Ted Budd is going to win North Carolina. This is nuts that we're even seeing polls that are like relatively close. Tom Tillis never led in 2014 when he unseated Kay Hagan. Okay? He led in one poll, which was, I think in the summer the spring. And it was just like one of those, the race hasn't even shaped up yet. But it was the Media University polls all had Kay Hagan winning by about 7 to 10 points until the final few weeks when they did start to herd to make it look competitive. But yet Tillis never led. In those final weeks, there was one poll at the very end where Tom Tillis had, I believe, a 1-point lead or something like that. And it was conducted by the president's former campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. So everyone saw it with the R on Real Clear Politics, like in parentheses, meaning this is a Republican poll, right? And they just dismissed it. Kay Hagan was expected to win that. Every election forecast model was not even light blue. Ours was light blue. Everyone else was pretty much, this is now moving from tilt or slightly to leans or likely. And then Tom Tillis won it by about 2.5 points, something like that. Ballpark, 2 points. Call it 2 points, all right? That's the irony of all of this. That race itself is the race that made us reduce the weighting on the model for public polls. We knew polls had an issue already, but our panel told us, which was about 157 people in North Carolina, people who vote both ways. That's what we did because we didn't have money to run large scale polls in every single state. I stole it from Barack Obama's team, man. All right. I mean, we didn't steal it. We just believed he was right. They never did that either. They would take these people who were capable of being swingy and just simply interviewing them, trying to get down to their motivation, what mattered to them. We did that. And in North Carolina, it was very clear. It was 55-45 Republican, to Democrat. And we allowed public polling to weigh at this, and it carried the same weight as our own work. And it was of great value in the model at the time. That was the one and only adjustment I ever made to the PPD election projection model. And it was because of North Carolina. We knew Tom Tillis was going to win that race, right? We knew it. Even my young son at the time knew it. I remember like it was yesterday. I was stressing over the rating. I knew that the polling was skewing the model, and I knew it wasn't going to be right. And, my son, who was young, very young at the time, he was like, Dad, you're the man. You could just override it. Just override it. This rating's wrong. Just override it. And even because he was looking at what I was looking at, which was the vote history, over time. And he could see that North Carolina barely voted for Barack Obama, then voted for Mitt Romney pretty considerably. And he was like, this is supposed to be a bad year for Democrats and their candidates. So, I mean, it's just basic common sense. Of course, they're not going to vote for Kay Hagan, And he was a kid, and I just laughed because I'm like, that was more legitimate analysis out of a then, I think, 7-year-old kid, all right, than you would get out of anybody that is a so-called forecaster. But I didn't, because I ultimately believed that overriding was not right. If anyone just overrided their modeling when they felt like it, then it would be the Wild West. So if it's wrong, it's a problem, and we'll have to address it and talk about why we're addressing it after. I knew it was wrong. I knew it. In 2020, it was very clear Donald Trump was going to win that state. Go back and look. I mean, I can pop up the New York Times article right now. Why Hillary Clinton is likely to carry North Carolina. What early voting tells us about Hillary Clinton's chances in North Carolina? Remember that? And it wasn't even close. It was like 97-3. And we're looking at the same numbers and going, what the hell are they talking about? But it was the polls. The New York Times had Hillary Clinton winning by 6 points. 6 points. She lost by almost 4. And then in 2020, Cal Cunningham had a huge lead over Tom Tillis again. Joe Biden, again, their final poll in North Carolina was Joe Biden plus 6. It was deja vu all over again. And the Democrats we were speaking to in North Carolina didn't believe it. Nobody believed Cal Cunningham was going to beat Tom Tillis. They thought they had a chance. That's not true. They thought they had a chance, but they didn't believe the Cunninghams plus 10. They remembered 2014 and 16. They remembered it. So Ted Budd is going to carry that seat by low end 3, high end 8. You think I'm kidding? Do I still have the graphic of Trump v. Biden in North Carolina? I tweeted it the other day. When there was, it wasn't these last rounds of primaries, before that. And there was this talk about Budd, and his chances since the Senate is going so badly for Democrats. So for Republicans. And I showed people, there was a sample that was Trump plus 2, almost right on the dot. Who did you vote for in 2020? And it was Trump plus 2. And then now it was like Trump plus 11. Who would you vote for again? That tells you there are mind changing. There's no movement there is not only no movement to the Democratic Party in North Carolina, it's movement away from the Democratic Party. We're starting to get it just a little bit crazy now. Georgia, I can understand people's concerns. I can even understand some of the forecast moving slightly. Insane to move. Cook Political Report is not real. Guys, they are not real. To move that race to likely Democrat is asinine, unfounded. The only thing they're doing it for is because the polling, which is garbage. Franklin and Marshall should be ashamed of themselves. Just as there have been now 3 consecutive polls showing the race in both races in Pennsylvania getting tight, Franklin and Marshall comes out with I think it's Fetterman plus 13. And get this, that is technically a tightening because the last one they came out with was Fetterman plus 18 or something ridiculous. Folks, this is not real. And Jim Lee at Susquehanna, who's also a Pennsylvania pollster, has really gone after Franklin and Marshall before because they are repeat offenders. They should be, censured. I don't know. That's what Jim said, censured, is a good thing to do. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer certainly is not to continue to take them seriously. Hillary plus 12 or 11. All right, so I am not even discussing North Carolina or Florida. Marco Rubio is not in trouble. Marco Rubio is going to Valdenex. This is ridiculous. There was one poll that showed Marco Rubio was in trouble. It also happened to be the one poll that showed Nikki Fried would beat Charlie Crist. She got trounced by 35 points.
How many points?
35 points. Or it was 35 the last I looked. There's a freaking 40-point miss by the University of North Florida. You're still taking this seriously? By the way, Jim Lee's going to have Pennsylvania. He's going to have a national. And I think he's going into Florida soon, too. I don't even see the need to waste your money on Florida. Marco Rubio is going to win easily. I think you all know where I think we stand on Ron DeSantis. Mm-hmm. That's not a race. The voters of Florida are over Charlie Krispy Kreme Crist. Okay? They're over him. Did you hear what he said? Anyone who voted for Ron DeSantis, I don't want your vote.
Good.
This is the dumbest guy in the world. Come on. Stop. Just stop. Stop. It's not real. and Joy rocks, Ted Budd's got a significant advantage in North Carolina. I'm not talking about these three, okay? North Carolina, Florida. Well, no, I mean, North Carolina and Florida. Those are the two that I've heard the most ludicrous banter about. And by the way, let me tell you something. Even the guys at the decision desk don't think that rating is legit. They have to do it based on like fundraising and like, some polling and stuff. And don't take my word for it. Actually, I was watching it. I'll find it for you. They don't believe it either. And Ted Budd's going to win that race, and he's going to win it pretty easily. And you'll be able to know immediately on election night when you look at the margin in Wake County. If Ted Budd is not, well, no, you won't, because of the early vote. It's going to lopside. It's not the way it used to be. Back before the days of ridiculous vote, universal ridiculous vote by mail, you could see the total margin coming in already. We'll have to wait, because we won't know what the margin in Wake County will be until election day votes are counted. All right. So Biden told everyone to vote Republican in the Senate last night.
Pretty much.
My God. And this is what I'm saying. Like, finally, Oz is starting to whack Fetterman over health. Health is fair game. You have to do it a certain way, but he's done it a good way. Like, if Fetterman has eaten a vegetable in his life, he wouldn't have stroked out. There's nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing wrong with calling into question whether or not a candidate has the ability or the mental fitness to serve as the position they are running for. Being a U.S. senator is pretty grueling sometimes. And the fact of the matter is, he's already pretty fanatically left-wing, Fetterman. And if Shapiro was to beat Mastriano, then Fetterman could basically in a month say, you know what, I stroked out, I can't do this job. So then Shapiro gets to appoint a total nutcase that doesn't represent the state of Pennsylvania.
Can you talk about his speech? Like, can you talk about...
right. He can't speak, guys. His talk the other day, Laura and I actually tried to transcribe when he was talking to the union about what he was trying to say was, where do you come down? Where do you stand? Will you stand with the union? And he was like trying to mock Oz. Is there any union hall in one of Oz's houses? He couldn't speak. And we were actually trying to transcribe it, to type it out to see what it looked like. It was horrible. I'm like, this isn't
coherent.
It was not coherent. And his brain was fishing for words that his body could not pronounce. It's a freaking problem. Mm-hmm. And the media should be just absolutely ashamed of themselves. They've already done it with the president. So, I don't expect anything better for them. But we cannot have mentally incompetent leaders running around winning elections because the media refuses to tell the public that these people are not mentally fit to serve. This is a health issue. It's not like Donald Trump's mentally unfit because he has the views he has. That's not what we're talking about here. They have the nerve to say something like that, but then not talk about Fetterman. You should be scared. If you live in the state of Pennsylvania, you should be afraid. Like, people who are honest about Joe Biden, who live in the United States, should be afraid. He's not running the show. Barack Obama 2.0 group is. And they're really unchained. Why are the fundraisers, Oh, wow.
They're tied.
I think too, though, what we're seeing with some of these lopsided fundraising numbers in these races is that Trump is taking a lot of money that would naturally go to some of these candidates. I do think that's happening. But then also there are other organizations that no longer believe in the Republican ability to fundraise, especially without Donald Trump doing it for them. And so they are having their own agenda and they're fundraising for that. So, on why all the fundraisers. Oh, I just read that again another way. For America First B, I'm just going to say this to you. He's a difficult man to get along with. That's what most people think. All right? That's the fact. All right? Can Palin pull it out? Every day you can keep asking about Alaska, but we don't know. She's not going to pull ahead in the first choice voting. We have to see whether or not she pulls ahead in the second choice. That can't be done until August 31st after. It may be once, if they get all the votes where they're allowed to receive them by August 31st, if they get all those votes in that day and they have them, they know they have them, maybe they'll start the ranked choice tabulation at that point. But they told me they expect to certify the election on September 2nd. And frankly, until the 31st comes around and we take another look again and see, do they think they have enough votes? We won't know whether they're going to tabulate ranked choice on the 31st or the 1st. We don't know yet. All right. But you will not. Neither one of them will pull ahead in first choice voting. I told you this was going to happen. Did I or did I not? And for those of you who are in Arizona, who are in Florida, they want you to ranked choice vote. You better pull your heads out of your asses, because ranked choice voting is not to give you more representation and not to give you more choices. It is to entrench the status quo, whether that status quo is Republican or Democrat. Lisa Murkowski in Alaska did it to save her own ass. But in doing so, putting herself first and not Alaska first, she gave a double-digit Republican state to a Democrat. That is going to happen. In fact, I warned you it would happen in the not-so-distant future. It looks like with the at-large district, it could happen now. We'll just have to see how many Republicans even cast second-ranked votes. They may not have. And that's the... I always mess her name up. Kelly's chance is that a lot of Murkowski's voters put her second, but Kelly's voters did not put Murkowski second. All right. And it only matters for the first, really, the fourth candidate will be eliminated and theirs will be redistributed. Okay. Till someone hits 50. Since PA has a heavy vote by mail, shouldn't Oz and Mastriano try to get some sort of lead earlier, like the way Dems are leading now? Oh, you mean polling lead? Yes, because if Mastriano and Oz are trailing when it's time to start casting votes, it will be hard for them to make that up. Okay? That's a great question. People will start voting already. Minnesota starts voting ridiculously early. We actually know for a fact that people who heard about the Biden news story, the Biden news reports about the laptop and the corruption and the pay for play in Ukraine and China, we know for a fact that voters were not aware of it like they were of the Hillary Clinton situation, and that they absolutely cast a vote for Joe Biden before they heard that story. And we're pissed that they did. That early vote is Florida's the gold standard. Everything else is ridiculous. And even in Florida, I think they give it's too long of a period to allow people to cast votes. I'm not a big fan of early voting, ladies and gentlemen, and there's for a very simple reason. If voting is not important enough to you, that a federal holiday is already given, basically, I mean, really not a holiday, but a work holiday. No employer can fire you for going to vote or being late or whatever. If you can't get to the polls, if it's not a priority for you, then I'm not sure I want you voting anyway. The founding fathers did not exclude people from the process because they were bigoted or they were racist or they were this or they were that. They did it because they wanted people who had bigger stakes, more skin in the game, to be able to have more of a say. I mean, frankly, look, otherwise, people who paid their own damn student loans, right, may one day be forced to pay for not only theirs, but others who were lazy or irresponsible with their money. And I do understand. I do. It can be tough to pay off those loans. But it's not somebody else's job to do it. It's your own job. Nathan, we've done a lot of this. The public does not like long periods of, they do support early voting, but they don't like long periods of early voting. I'll get rid of the damn sex bot. Why are these sex bots targeting us like this? Yeah, I don't understand this. But anyway, yeah, Uncle Fexter is, but basically what they want pretty strict standards on it. You know, they don't like, absentee ballots coming in after Election Day. They overwhelmingly support Election Day deadlines for absentee ballots like there is in Florida. They're unhappy with the verification procedures. In Virginia, people were outraged as they learned more that there really wasn't even a signature verification procedure. It was like a witness procedure. And it really didn't dawn on them until that debate started to rise to the forefront, and then they started to think about it, and they didn't like it. So, interesting enough, Virginia, when we were polling it during the 2021 election, interestingly, on some of these, they were more strict than the nation as a whole. You know, they just didn't understand why it was allowed to be like this. All right. Let's see, 423. I feel like I'm missing something. I wanted to show something else to you, and I'm missing something here. I really feel like I am. I'm looking around. Oh, it was something. I'm telling you, there was something. Let me see. Yeah, let me show this stuff. This is crazy. This is just crazy. Let me stop the screen share here. Start another one, grab it. This is just outrageous. There's like no shame. They have no shame at all. And they don't care because they've consistently given a pass. Here's Yossi on Twitter. Here, let me take a sip of water real quick. But read it. Read what Yossi said. Well, I'll read it again out loud, but check it out. And actually, let me move. Yeah, the Emerson's in there with the other one. Let me just, yeah, you guys can see that, right? Just look at that overall. There we go. And that's Yossi's tweet. Hat tip, Yossi. Good guy, funny guy. In a new poll by Emerson in swing state Pennsylvania, the Republican Senate candidate Oz and governor candidate Mastriano are both at 44, while Trump is at 47 to Biden's 42. Another illustration how Trump can pull GOP up, but the machine is shunning him. And that's, I mean, I had to retweet it because he's absolutely right. And he's obviously paying attention to what I've been saying. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Are you freaking for real here? Is this for real? Oz at 30%? This is doing incredible damage to the concept of polling averages. Why are these leans only in one direction? Answer me this, folks. Why are these leans always only in one direction? Have you ever seen Franklin and Marshall overstate a Republican support in the state of Pennsylvania by, probably 10 points? If you were to take Franklin and Marshall out of that equation, the average of the poll shows that Fetterman really is only up by about 3 points. So they're 10 points off the average. And considering we know that they're always, off the average in favor of Democrats, there has to be some kind of a punishment there. Or not even a punishment, but voters or news consumers or whatever it may be, and news outlets, definitely, when they're reporting on these polls, there should be some kind of like standard where you state how those pollsters have done in the last few election cycles. Because in the end, ladies and gentlemen, Accuracy matters. Okay?
Oh, mic drop.
Accuracy matters. By the way, merch in the description. And I just every time I talk to somebody about people who got the merch, they're like, especially winter is, it's still summer now, it's August, but we're heading into fall and the chilly weather is coming. When I tell you those hoodies are super cozy, I was just talking to somebody the other day. They're like, dude, my wife got like 3 of your hoodies and that's all she wears is the hoodie is so damn cozy. And it is. It really is. I got another one that I got for Father's Day one year that's also really cozy and nothing else comes close. Nothing else comes close. So
but your Father's Day ones is really cute.
It's special. Too. The Father's Day one is special. Yeah. But yeah, that was a infrazole. That was a good question. The longer they stay down, the harder it will be with the early vote to make it up. And it was like the same thing for like Tudor Dixon, for instance. She probably could have ran away with that race in the 50s, but so many people had voted already before she got the Trump endorsement. And just to wrap this all up with some of the other questions that you guys had, they absolutely will have to. Donald Trump is going to have to help them. Everyone. And he's going to rally for Oz. Fantastic. And Mastriano. That's fantastic news for both those two candidates because and by the way, look, Mastriano's outperforming Oz. Why? Because the working class sees Mastriano and the base sees Mastriano's more Trumpy. So he's like Jenny. I will tell you though, it's probably a mirage. In the end, it will probably be a lot closer than people expect. Maybe Mastriano outperforms Oz by like a hair. I don't think it'll be that much. We're not talking about 3-point difference like Franklin and Marshall is suggesting. That's not happening. And by the way, Mastriano at 33%. Shame on you, Franklin and Marshall. Shame on you. Shame. John, the New Hampshire Senate race is my sleeper for the cycle. And in fact, I don't even think it should be a sleeper. I think Boldak absolutely has a chance. By the way, did you guys watch the debate? For people who are worried about Boldak, he sounded Trumpy as hell to me. He was the only one talking about not only should we have to worry about China with trade, but they are buying too much of our stuff. They have too much land. They have too much control over tolls. I mean, he was all over. He's got it. He's got it. You guys driving the Garden State Parkway? You from my New Jerseyans out there? You on the turnpike? You're driving on Chinese asphalt at this point. Mm-hmm. He was all over that. I mean, there was a lot of good, the candidates all did well. I just think that he sounded legit Trumpy to me. Sometimes you have to kind of look through and see if someone gets it. Sounds like he gets it. The difference between Hassan and Shaheen is that Shaheen has had majority approval support in the past, and even she almost went down in 2014, by the way. She has had that question of does she deserve re-election? It was much closer, or she was even like was like a little bit ahead. That is not the case with Maggie Hassan. She has never really been popular. So I do think, it's going to take, now Baldac's got these late primaries, man. They're for incumbents. Because then you can't raise money. Late primaries favor incumbents. But yes, John, keep an eye on that race. Remember, they voted for Kelly Ayotte, not only by double digits. It was like 16 points or something, if I'm memory serves. Then they threw her out. That's New Hampshire for you. But Kelly Ayotte was a neocon. And neocons don't fly in New Hampshire. Neocon has long been anti-tax, anti-war, which is why Trump almost carried it in 2020. All right. Let's see. Yes, I saw Bannon's estimate, 4.6 million illegals have come over southern border since Biden took office. Can you ask Rich to estimate roughly how many more and how long it could take to flip Texas blue? I watched a special election on Loudoun County, immigration effects on voting trends, which was a masterclass. That was a great episode, man. I was going back and trying to look for that. Oh, it's Blondie. Ma'am, that was a great episode. I just think that they're not all ending up in Texas, right? And things are happening that are offsetting it. So people who are leaving blue states that are moving to Texas, they're not bringing their politics with them. At least that's not been the case since 2010. What's really happened is that, working class are fleeing California, going to places like Texas, Florida, Illinois, what was the other one that was up there? Arizona. And they're voting Republican. And they're actually helping to counter this. I think, Blondie, we need to start thinking a little bit differently about how we look at this, because Hispanics are undergoing a political maturation. And that's why they're bringing in these new underclass voters, because they're afraid of that. Basically, they committed political suicide. As whites get more Democratic, Hispanics are getting more Republican. White educated suburbanites are a shrinking share of the electorate. They are not, they vote at high rates, but there's no growth there. All of the growth is in the Hispanic population that's now here been naturalized and domesticated. Right? So, or not, assimilated is a better word. Domesticated, I meant by they're giving birth in this country. And they're now into second and third generation. So if that shift to the right continues, Democrats really shot themselves in the foot here. So they need to bring in a bunch of... I read that it's actually going, by the end of this month, it'll be 4.9 million. I know. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Many of them will just disappear into the interior. We'll have to see. All right. And remember, the more left-wing Democrats go, the more they turn off a lot of these people who are not for men deciding the next day that they're females. They don't like this crap. That's why being a coward and not engaging Democrats on these issues is a major mistake. Major mistake. So what? You're going to offend the 45-year-old white lady who has a master's degree. So what? All right.
I have an interesting question. I want you, but it's not.
Yeah, John, that's the way I look at New Hampshire too. Like, that's why I still think Republicans in an environment like this are still favored, because they have so many kind of things that could go their way. But again, they got to hold Pennsylvania. They got it. But if something goes wrong in Georgia, or they don't carry Nevada or Arizona, one of them, New Hampshire could definitely go. And that could be a shocker to everybody. All right. Owen, well, you keep throwing these at me. I got to close it up. It's 2:05. Yeah, and I'm looking at Richard Borders. I think Trump goes beyond the man once the money is controlled by the populace for future races. My question is, how many cycles until we see populists become the majority? I'm not sure that is at all a certainty at this point. I think, honestly, populists probably are the majority, right? If you consider left and right-wing populists, I think most people are populists at heart. I do. And I think conservative populism probably represents the largest plurality. I hate that word. That's why I want the populism index. I really can't answer that until I know. But I'll tell you right now, Rich, they're not ready to move on from Donald Trump. The organizational issues are abysmal. And the turnout is very clear. Republicanism has got to become more populist in nature before they're ready to move on. Because, a vanilla Republican like Molinaro, as good of a candidate as people thought he was from that area, he couldn't do it. He could not close the deal. And I'm telling you, in Minnesota 1, it probably should have been 10 points. But the voters I had on the member of the Minnesota Republican Party the other day in St. Louis. Remember a couple weeks ago? Nice guy, but he laid it out perfectly. There are mixed signals to voters in areas where populism is trying to take root. There are mixed signals. You can't have mixed signals like that. All right, so no, I don't think that a SCOTUS case on affirmative action can affect November. I will say this, though. What the North Carolina Supreme Court did, everyone knows, by basically invalidating voters' sovereignty, which is what they did, they're going to get their asses kicked. They're losing the North Carolina Supreme Court, and they're going to lose it bad. Then the funny thing is, no politicos here from Pitt County to Charlotte really expect Ted Budd to lose that race, and everyone expects that the Supreme Court in North Carolina will be in conservative hands after this election. That's why they did what they did, by the way. That's why Democrats are on that court are being so lawless right now, because they know their time's up. It's over for them. So they're doing as much as they can, throwing out maps, redistricting maps that have been agreed upon by not only the legislature, by the governor himself, a Democratic governor who played chicken and lost with the budget. And those maps were part of his political penalty. His own Senate leader of his own party abandoned him and agreed to those maps. So they're running amok, pretending to be some kind of progressive activist, not because they think it's the right thing to do. It's a raw political power move. And they're going to pay the price for it. They're going to pay. All right. Yep, with that in mind, I think I got everything. Just want to Owen just got off work, so I haven't seen any of the show. This was minutes ago, though. But wanted to get Freewheeling Friday question in before my ride home. Does Rich think that ranked choice voting will be pushed for as a solution to losing election with integrity, so that it won't matter if the established sections with integrity in states like Florida, Arizona? Yes, I do. Absolutely, Owen. They're doing this to win states they can't win, and not only because they can't politically win them, but because their systems are different, right? And obviously, I can talk to you in code, right?
Yeah, you do.
That's exactly what they're doing, Owen. Exactly. Ranked choice voting. I'm not even sure it's constitutional. Frankly, it's not what they purport it to be. And it is to help the entrenched establishment. It's really, Libertarian Party loves it because they think it's their way in, because they're not viable. Look at what they're willing to do just to have a couple more votes. And by the way, the Libertarian problem is their own problem. It has nothing to do with the system working against them, really, so much as it is that their views work against them. Look in a state like Alaska. They have an independent party that does fine. Go look at the vote share in the gubernatorial primary right now. They're competitive because of their platform. All right? Exactly, David. How many libertarians have won under ranked choice voting?
Good luck with that.
None. So, with that in mind, that's it for us. Look for a locals live stream this weekend, okay, locals? Where you need to boost up the live streams, which means we got to sacrifice someone else. We know we have to. Maybe we'll do a live stream after we kind of get some feel for what we're seeing in the field, all right? We're going to start either Saturday or Sunday, so we could do Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or we can do Sunday, Monday, and let Tuesday. As you guys know, like I explained to you before, 24 hours people are allowed once that kicks in. So often we pulled out of the field, but we're waiting for that 24-hour period to expire for some of the people who began the interview to complete it, okay? All right. So, yeah. I'm stoked. Are you stoked? I'm stoked.
I'm totally stoked.
Nationally, we'll have a generic ballot. We'll have some more 2024 hypothetical numbers. We'll have the registered voter economic confidence index. And for the CD media big data poll, we will have PA. Let's see where the hell this race stands. All right. I'll tell you right now, it ain't going to be where Franklin and Marshall has it. I'll tell you that, because that is called delusional. All right, thanks for watching. Remember, I want to really thank the sponsor again, For Patriots. Go check them out. The link is in the description, forpatriots.com/TPP. All right. And, again, like I said, Laura and I, we use it. All right. Check it out. You don't know what's going to happen in Biden's America. All right.
And just so you know, they also have payment plans too.
Oh, they do have payment plans. Yeah. If you wanted something big like that,
like huge.
Yeah, like even in the 697 one, they do have payment plans.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no credit check out there. I mean, I don't think there is.
I don't remember, but I know they do payment plans.
Yeah, but yeah, it's absolutely a ton of stuff, and it's definitely worth it. But read through that. You know, I got the link up there in the description. You'll see it. Check it out. And like I said, it's better to be prepared than not to be. Mm-hmm. All right. What else? Book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. All right. You don't need the book to join. Missive Empire, Jack Schneider. We are on Social Imperialism in Victorian Britain, which is chapter 5. This is part 3 this week because we got through everything else, wrapped up the cognitive explanations, which of course we've really criticized Schneider on. I think that's the biggest criticism against Schneider's work is that in order to dismiss why cognitive explanations don't work, he doesn't really address he doesn't approach it in the correct way. I mean, it's not really how you apply cognitive theory. But anyway, his argument is domestic coalition politics influences whether or not a state overexpands or not, all right, or whether a society has the ability to believe more myths or not. It's just fantastic because with what was going on with Ukraine, it was perfect and still is. They want to send 2 billion more. It's just never ends.
And also mention that you can catch up and binge watch.
You can binge watch. That's right. You can go into the archive, into the playlist, and you can binge watch. All right. There's always a discussion afterwards as well. Mm-hmm. But you don't need the book because we'll read it out loud. We discuss it. And this Sunday will be just reading cognitive our coalition politics explanation for this case study of Britain, which is one of his examples of early industrialization. All right. And we'll spend the rest of that time just kind of debating whether or not we find his argument persuasive or not, or what it could be missing. All right. So super cool. All right. With that in mind, I think that's it. Okay. Like I said, thanks for, of course, getting this public polling project funded. Always share it far and wide. Once it gets to 100, it will relap and whatnot and go from there. We're at 92.4, almost 92.37. All right. And I appreciate that, guys. I really do. And I look forward to sharing the results with you. All right. So I don't think I'm missing anything. Right. Check out next week. By the way, we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with Mondays. All right. If on Mondays when there is not a what are the odds, we're gonna do something. Even if it is a 1-hour show, we're going to do something. Maybe we'll do part of it on YouTube, part of it on locals. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but just stay tuned on the days when either it's not the day scheduled for what are the odds or when Robert can't make it. There has to be something on Monday now. All right. So we'll be doing that. All right. What do you mean it's his last live stream?
He's going to do pre-recordings, you remember? And put out the information. So tomorrow is his last live stream.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah. Give it a shout out. Well, she did. Yeah. But that's noon Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Mm-hmm. All right. With that in mind, I think that's it. Yeah, we're doing Marty, I'm on that for you, Marty. All right. I'm on that for you. We do need a locals live. I'm on it for you. Okay. And we're going to do it this weekend. I flippin' promise. All right. And we're going to go over what I generally think I see in the polling. All right. And we'll go from there. All right. So with that in mind, I got you, Marty. I got you. All right. I got all of you. I know it. We know it. I even got yelled at by locals for it. Yeah, I got an email yelling at me the other day. They were like, you haven't live streamed for your community in a while. I'm like, I know. I'm getting there. But, that's also true that, during the elections, I like the live chat better because Otherwise, you're just kind of looking at me, guys, while I'm doing nothing but crunching numbers.
I tried to tell him y'all still like watching him crunch numbers, but
would you rather me do that? Honestly, locals, would you rather me just do a video and we can live chat anyway? But you just kind of like it. I'm not going to be that entertaining. I'm doing number crunching. I can't crunch and be entertaining at the same time. Maybe I can. I don't know.
You not be entertaining.
We'll figure it out. But you would literally just be watching me do it. All right. Like the in between when I disappear for time, whatever. It's not that long. Of course, I'm always typing away in live chat, but you just be watching what I'm doing in between those periods.
They love it. I know.
You know. So what? I know. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think, guys? Captain Crunch. Young Kevin said, "Yeah, we want the video." All right, guys. All right. Just don't expect it to be terribly responsive. You know what I mean? All right. Cool.
Can you get predictions on locals? Of course you can.
Of course I will. Yeah, and I'll tell you. You know, if I think I see enough in the data already, you know, I'll give you an idea of where I think where I think this survey is going to end up. I am not, Laura knows this though, I'm like superstitious. I only like to look at the demographics. I don't like to look at the answers. Right, Laura?
Yes.
I like to know whether or not demographically the survey is looking well balanced and represented. What I don't like is peeking at the answers. I don't, at least not until it's a certain amount in, you know? But yeah, Saturday or Sunday. We're going to do the book club on Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, we'll do something. Saturdays are getting a little tough that afternoon. My daughter's stuff, you know, but we'll figure it out, you know.
Maybe more Monday.
No, I'm talking about the live stream.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you're thinking about the Monday?
Yeah. Like
why? You're telling me I got things to do?
Well,
but I was thinking about doing a short preview about what I think I see for the polls.
You can do that on Monday.
But then Monday's a show. That's what I'm saying. If Barnes doesn't make, what are the odds on Monday?
In half. One half of the live stream.
Even if I too just pop in briefly and just say, like, you know, because they expanded the amount of time too. So, also, I'm going to be doing locals articles. Oh yeah, I'm going to be. I was like sick of uploading PDFs every time I wanted to give you guys like a voter analysis report with the modeling. And then I was never really able to add text of what I wanted to say and do. I put it in a little blurb. Now we have locals articles. Oh yes. So check it out the next time I do a model on a state. All right. And maybe we'll do Pennsylvania before the poll because that would be relevant. Right? All right, cool. All right, I'm going to kick rocks. Let's play Bad Habit again. Check out all the links down in the description. forpatriots.com/TPP, which is the People's Pundit. All right. And we will see you guys over the weekend. Sound good? Well, we'll talk to you before then, but you'll see us over the weekend. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. As always, Getter, keep up the audience. You're really giving everyone else a run for their money. You're slamming. And I find it funny that Getter, I have how many? 40,000 something followers on Getter. Look at the audience size. Look at Twitter, where I have almost 200,000 followers. Twitter, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing, Twitter. It's pathetic. How about you just try to compete in the marketplace with me? All right? Instead of giving your favorite failed forecasters a handicap, why don't you try to compete with me? Try calling a state correctly for once, and then maybe you could get the views I get. Peace out!
But that would require accuracy.
That's right. And as we know, accuracy matters. All right? All right,
guys.
guys.
You guys have a great weekend.
Deuces!
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette inside this aggressive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spiff overnight, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow